What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Man, oh man, oh man, what a difference a week makes. If you remember, Scott, last Thursday, the Yankees played a 1 o'clock game in Detroit, and they looked lifeless. They lost. They couldn't complete the sweep, and we just felt dirty about the series win, and it's been 2 series sweeps since. That is a distant memory, that Detroit series, it feels like. A lot of positive things over the past 6 games, and I'm loving it.
A lot of positive things. Really good homestand for the guys. And, you know, I mean, I didn't feel dirty about the win. I'll take a series win anytime, but it wasn't pretty. But this one, yeah, getting the sweep here and going home and really showing what they can do offensively. They were seriously woken up when they got to the Bronx. And I appreciate that. And Cleveland was not an easy series. That was not a layup. They had a good offense going into it. They had some decent pitching. But the guys played well, and then they're taking care of business right now against Baltimore. So that's exactly what you need. We've talked about this 100 times. We'll talk about it 100 more. Baltimore series, the series directly with Baltimore throughout the year is going to be important because of the AL East ramifications. So gotta get these W's, and yeah, glad they're on the right path.
Full disclosure, it is the bottom of the 8th inning right now, and the Yankees are up 6-2. So if barring a catastrophic top of the 9th inning, they have completed the sweep of the Orioles. I think that happened to us.
That is why I changed the way that I talked just then, because I cannot talk in final terms unless that box score says final.
Do you remember when this happened last year? Do you remember what game this happened?
This is, I feel like, happened a number of times, but at the same time, not going to be because of me.
This happened. We started recording in the 9th inning of the Houston game in Houston the day before the All-Star break when Chad Green gave up the walk-off home run to Jose Altuve.
Oh, my God.
We had done like maybe 10 minutes because the Yankees were up huge in that game. So we were like, oh, this is in the bag. We're gonna start recording. We had done maybe 10 minutes, and then the wheels just started to slowly fall off, and our souls were crushed. That will not happen today. I'm declaring it. I don't know. The reason it's not going to happen today is, and this might sound silly and it's not really tangible, it's sort of a classic eye test thing. This feels like a different team. The vibe is completely different so far this year than it was last year, and even group the 2020 and 21 seasons together. This is just a different feeling around this team.
There is a different feeling. Even when shit goes wrong, because when the Orioles started coming back down 6 the other night.
That was a weird game.
The Yankees just kept tacking on more runs, and and to me, when you see something like that, it's a reaction to what's happening. They should have absolutely won that game easily. It didn't come as easily, but every time there was the Orioles, adding runs and getting back in the game, the Yankees responded to it. And to me, that is a great sign of a team that even early days, this was a quote from however long ago with Judge, backs against the wall type thing, and they didn't have the sense of urgency against teams in April, didn't have the same urgency as they did late in the season against especially a Baltimore team in April. But this is the feeling that they do have that sense of urgency. They understand, like, every single game is important. It is. Wins are wins, whether it's in April or in August, doesn't matter. Especially AL East wins. Gotta get them. And yeah, they climbed right back in it every single time, as they should have. So I was proud of the way they responded.
It's one of those things that it's hard to put your finger on. It's like, is it really contagious? Like, the old cliche is hitting is contagious, and then just guys start to relax because other players in the lineup are doing their job, and all the pressure is not falling on 1 or 2 guys, and you've got guys pressing. Like, even pretty much up until this week, Joey Gallo was just completely lost. He hit a couple bombs this week, which is great. But, like, Joey Gallo was a guy that had been lost at the plate and probably pressing, but there were other guys around him that were performing to pick up a little of the slack. Whereas what we saw the last couple of years is no one else picking up the slack, and it was just sort of like this downward spiral effect that just like of this pressure. And you're absolutely right. That Tuesday game, Severino was unhittable, no hitter through the 5th inning. It was 6-0. The Yankees would have lost that game last year 8-6 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And they backed up their guy because Severino pitched well. He pitched well until he didn't, But at the same time, he was going.
It was like one bad
well.
pitch he made. He gave up the 3-run home run, but otherwise he threw 77 pitches through 6+ innings. Though I think the reason they sent him back out there for the 7th was because his pitch count was so low.
His pitch count was
great.
great.
And they probably had like a target in mind of, we got to get him to 85 pitches or 95 pitches or something like that. But then he allowed the first guy to get on and like, well, this is a close game now. We're not going to blow the game and just have him out there getting work, which is another move that I like. It's like you can't be completely reactionary to things that are happening on the field. And sometimes I feel like Boone does that too much instead of being proactive. So, I liked sending him back out there because he had been so good, and I like yanking him after the first batter. It's like, no, we're not messing around. 77 pitches, but like this is still a game. Get you out of there.
Yeah, I'm proud of you too, because you know what? Last year you killed Boone for that move. You killed Boone for sending him back out and not giving a clean inning.
For moves when it doesn't make sense. To me, that made sense. Like if Severino, let's say in theory he had a 90 pitch limit, okay? 77 pitches. That's 13 pitches to work with. But there's certain circumstances where Boone would send him out at like 86 pitches. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of 4 pitches? No.
Well, I've countered that thought with you before with, I think, logic is that you want him to feel the sense of getting back up and going into the next inning. So you're still giving him the feeling and the sensation of, yeah, it's a hard pitch limit and you're going into the next inning, but we want you to make sure you're warming up, you're getting all those things in between innings and going back out again. It's part of the build-up process.
They can do that in the tunnel. David Cohn, because this was another weird thing about the Tuesday game. It started like 10 minutes late because there was some weather. David Cohn's talking about how they have a full mound set up underneath in the Yankees clubhouse. Severino could go down there. Shit, put Miguel Andujar up at bat there. He's not doing anything else this week. Let him face some Severino pitching in the tunnel behind the Yankees dugout. Like, why not that?
Either way, the point is that he pitched well, and you're right, and the guys responded. They had his back. They know he pitched well. Whether that it got that personal in the dugout and they were chirping about that exact thing, I don't know, but I don't care. I like how they came back. I like how they fought, and they didn't leave someone hanging because he was pitching really well until all of a sudden, the Orioles decided they were going to hit again. But you know what? You know what's so good about the Severino start is that, my God, did he look like he was in control. He was efficient. The ball's coming out with really easy movement. Like, this is something that I'm kind of enamored by every time I watch Severino pitch. It's fun to watch him pitch because of the fact that someone just hit a home run.
Judge just hit an A-Rod home run.
Okay. You cannot compare
8th inning, already up 7-2, 3-run jack. That's this classic.
That's
A-Rod
like saying
home
it
run.
if Judge doesn't do it in other times. The reason it was an A-Rod home run.
No, that's not an insult to Judge.
Only time
if you're taking that as an insult to Judge, you're wrong. It's an insult to A-Rod.
Okay. This game is definitely in the can 10-2. I don't even know what I was saying, but yeah, it's just so
Severino,
easy.
You're talking about
it's fun
Severino
watching him pitch,
being in control again, and I tweeted out, it's so good watching Severino dominate again, and I got that feeling. I got that same sort of like in your gut, you just know this guy has a ton of confidence out there that we had in 2018 watching him, and that's the guy that we've been hoping for ever since that season. It's like it's just been downhill for him because of all the injuries and everything's just been derailed in his career, but it's just so good to see that again because he really does have elite stuff. When we talked to Christy Ackert, she talked about how he's in the best shape, like classic best shape of his life, but apparently he really is in best shape of his life, just stronger mound presence, everything. So really, really, like, I don't know if he's the number one thing from the early season. That might be Rizzo, but Sevy's got to be 2 or 3.
The beautiful thing is that we're in a situation here where I could debate you on 5 or 6 of those, right, which is great because things are happening. Things are happening in a good, positive way for this Yankees team. And the fact that Severino was one of them as, we the obvious X factor, if he is one, I mean, having a dominant number 2 behind Cole, if he's getting back on track, I mean, that's legit deep postseason run material right there.
And pitching is going to go, every pitcher is going to go into some slumps this year. Like, it's unrealistic to think they're not. And Nestor's been great. Taillon has been pretty solid. Montgomery's been really solid. Those guys will have their bumps in the road this year. But if you have your rocks at the top, you can weather those storms so much easier.
I will say though, but I the fact that the guys at 3, 4, 5 are ones that they have the ability to go out there and dominate, but they also have the ability to go out there and labor and still get through innings. Jordan Montgomery can absolutely do that with the amount of his repertoire. He could go out there, labor through some innings, get out of jams, show you enough stuff, but still get through 5, 6 innings. Like, he's that type of guy. I'd say Taillon is really turning into that as well. Probably, a little bit more of a higher ceiling with his stuff. And then Nestor, as advertised, what we saw last year and this year, he's just a guy that's going to throw the kitchen sink at you and get through 5+ innings.
Yeah, the Taillon start also kind of weird today. Some really odd runs scored on him early in the game. The first one was like a wind-blown ground rule double. Locastro just like couldn't run it down. I kind of thought Locastro maybe misplayed it a bit, but that ground rule double ended up scoring. And then the third inning, he hits by pitch, 2 wild pitches, and a swinging bunt scores the runs. So like that's how the Orioles scored their runs off of Taillon. He did get there was like jams later in the game, but otherwise like those were the runs that he gave up today.
Yeah, and I think in a month or so he's gonna have the ability to work deeper in the game, even on a game like today. How many pitches did he throw today? He threw. I'm looking for it right now.
I'd have to look that up.
But it was 4 2/3, like, a little deeper in the game and or deeper in the season, and I think he's out there a little bit longer. But that's kind of the point, is that he's able to work through some of these tough innings and still come out
83 pitches,
getting deeper in games.
He threw 83 pitches, but also like
and that's probably why he was pulled.
Well, you also have to look at the context of it. Like, it was a 4-2 game. No, wait, he got pulled in the 5th. So it was the Yankees were losing 2-0 at that point. You can't give up any more runs at that point.
Well, you can. You're still playing the Orioles. You could do again. I think later in the season he's still able to go in there. I think the pitch count was the big reason why he was pulled. But.
So what do you think? What's your feeling? You think Rizzo's going to lead the team in home runs all year?
He might, man. The way he's hitting right now, this guy is he's on freaking fire. He looks great. He does. Making the adjustments he's made. There's been a lot of people talking about that. The guy has been really, really good. He's a clubhouse leader. I love him. He's a damn good defender. He's just he's exactly what this team needed at first base. I love the fact that the team committed to him as well and didn't make a guy like Luke Voit a distraction on this team. Still feels like old. I don't know. There's a different feeling in the with the players and the clubhouse, but there's also a different feeling in the way that they conducted their business in the offseason as well. Feels like a couple of years ago they would have left one or two of these guys on. Let's just keep them in there to make sure there's a little bit of a distraction or some kind of uncertainty. But they didn't do that. They got rid of the players that could have caused any of that, and they're allowing these guys to play and gel, and I absolutely love it.
Ron Maranchino Cherry is on for the 9th inning. If anyone's curious, probably listening 12 hours later, they want to know who pitched the 9th inning. But I think getting rid of players like Voit and Gio and Gary Sanchez, it takes some of the comfort out of the clubhouse. Comfort in a bad sense, being like those guys were just too comfortable and maybe they thought they were safe even if they weren't performing, and it kind of shook things up and kind of put everyone like on the edge of their seat, like you talked about, back against the wall. Like, I got to start performing or else I'm getting my ass shipped out of here too.
Yeah, because it was unexpected. It was not. I mean, Voit was probably expected. The other two, at that point, not expected. No. And I have a hard time putting Gio into this, to be honest, but because Gio, his injuries were something. The guy wasn't able to stay on the field a lot, but he was also he was a good player.
A week earlier, Boone named him the starting shortstop a week before he got traded.
Yeah, well, we all know what that was.
But still,
he was not. He was not part of the problem. No. He was playing where he needed to play. He was a guy that was versatile. And I got no problem with Gio, and I never did. And I wouldn't have had a problem if he was still on this team, because he's a guy that could play within the current confines of what we're looking at here. I mean, he basically would be Wandy. Oh my gosh, just completely lost his name. I was going to say Wandy, but it's not Wandy.
Okay, while you think of that, I'm going to talk about Rizzo's 3 home run game on Tuesday. One of the weirder 3 homer games that I can think of. I don't know how he hit that first ball out. That ball was so far inside. His swing is so short into the ball. I thought it was like a jam shot, medium deep fly ball. And yes, I know that's only a home run at Yankee Stadium. That's a porch job, fine. But he still hit it 330, 40 something feet. And that ball like almost hit him in the gut. Like he hit it out of his belly button. I don't know how he hit the thing out.
Yeah. Marwin Gonzalez. Wandy Rodriguez, Marwin Gonzalez.
You were so far off, I didn't even know who the frick you were talking about.
Yeah, I was not close. my brain completely farted on that one. Dude, but that's what he does. He makes those adjustments inside. He pulls his hands in so well to attack the ball that's coming inside. He crowds that plate. He's one of the guys that historically gets plunked a lot too, because that's his domain. That's his plate. He controls it, and he dares people to come inside on him. And when they do, if it's in a place, like, he goes out and attacks that ball. I love it. His approach against lefties as well is the same. The way that he goes out there, righties, lefties, and that's what makes him such a difficult out for pitchers, because they want to jam him inside, and he doesn't let them do it.
Yeah. No, it was really kind of amazing, the home runs that he hit. Like, not the farthest of home runs, but kind of impressive home runs nonetheless. And Gallo,
it makes me a little happier, to be honest. Like, I'm glad that they scraped the wall and went out, just so everybody gets a little upset about it. That's fine.
You're not tired at Yankee Stadium. Whole, like, oh, this home run is only a home run in the stadium.
It makes me happy when other people complain about it, is what it does. Because, like, guess what? Yeah. Are we complaining about that every single time a ball goes over the monster at Fenway? No. It's part of the thing. It is what it is.
I actually give Yankees fans credit on this. When an opposing player hits a cheap home run, we don't say anything, because we know it's like, ultimately we're going to benefit the most. It's like, okay, fine. Golf clap. You hit the home run in the second row down the right field line. I'm not going to start to get mad at it on Twitter. Although I did always appreciate, like, Yankees pitcher, like CC Sabathia was kind of known for this. He'd give up a short porch job and just throw his head back like, oh, here we
As a pitcher, I'm not happy about it, no doubt. As a pitcher, I'm like, that's not what you want by any means. Little Joe Girardi action there, but at the same time, yeah, take advantage of it. That's why we've been pining for a left-handed first baseman. Give me a left-handed power first baseman who can actually make contact, and you take advantage of it, because it's a strength to the home team if you actually put someone in there who can play to that strength. And we have one now.
And I really like that they've been sticking with Judge, Rizzo, Stanton. I think it's a good middle of the order dynamic, not just because it's righty, lefty, righty, but just because Rizzo is that break in the strikeouts that I think obviously has been desperately needed, but we're actually seeing it materialize. And it's just like, duh, this was needed. Like, what took you so long to figure this shit out?
Yeah, I love the lineup right now. I really do. I think it's really dynamic, and obviously they're hot, so this could change. But the way that it's structured, the way that it's built, just from an approach standpoint, I think it's the right thing, and I think it's something that they can hopefully grow with and keep up. I really, really like it.
Gallo's got 2 dingers. I think he needs 40 more for me to hit my prediction of 42 home runs. So that might not be looking so good so far. We both had Johnny Loaisiga predictions, and he did pitch well on Thursday. He bridged the gap after, the Yankees were in a little bit of trouble, and he pitched really well. But Logan actually pulled some numbers on Loaisiga, because other than today, he had been really struggling, and he allowed the 3-run home run to Austin Hayes in the game on Tuesday. 2 of the runners were inherited by Licky. But Loaisiga's sinker, which should be his best pitch, or one of his best pitches, has been getting hit this year. And the horizontal and vertical movement on it was actually less when you compare it to last year. And as a result, batters are not hitting on top of the ball nearly as much. The numbers might be slightly different because he did pitch today, but last season batters got on top of his pitches 50% of the time. And so far this year, it's only 15% of the time. And his career average is 42%. That's why you've seen more home runs. That's why you've seen more hard hit balls. It's no secret. You keep the ball on the ground, you're going to be pretty safe as a pitcher in today's game. And Loaisiga has done that in the past, not been able to do that this season so far.
So because the team is going well right now, and we're looking at if a guy is struggling, I'm chalking it up to early season. Early season. Johnny Loaisiga has the ability and the leash to work himself out of it. Pitched well today. He was pitched into a second inning. But he was, came back out and was able to I think he struck out three guys.
The big thing is he
good.
got out of the jam. So that was another weird play with Castro. It was a ground ball up the middle, and DJ flips it to Marwin Gonzalez, who was not covering second base,
better known as Wandy Rodriguez.
But it wasn't even necessarily Gonzalez's fault. Like, it was 2 outs, and it was kind of a weird hit ball. Like, DJ should have just thrown it to first base, and I think that's what Marwin was expecting. So the runner was safe at second, and they had to go to Loaisiga, and he got out of the jam. So he kind of played the fireman role today. But yeah, like Logan, you just put some stats in here about his ground ball rate. Was 61% last year, and it's 40% this year. Like, that's a pretty significant drop. And like, don't mistake this. This isn't complaining or anything like that. It's just identifying why a guy is struggling early in the season.
Yeah, well, and he also stands out because the bullpen's been very good, and he has been one of those areas that hasn't found it yet. So, I expect him to be right there and figure this out. He's too damn good. He's too damn good, and he's going to be a big piece of this pen down the stretch.
Are you fully bought in on Michael King?
Yeah, I'm fully bought in on Michael King. Why not? In this role, I'm fully bought in. I don't. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Type of mentality right now with the way that the rotation's going. Like, he's playing
I'm not suggesting moving him to the rotation. I actually think if they need another starter, it's going to be Clark Schmidt. It's not going to be Michael King because he's been.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last episode.
Okay.
But the fact, yeah, he or it might have been the one before that. But he is.
My brain doesn't work.
He's playing a significant role right now. Well, here he's playing a significant role because if there is a guy that struggles. Now, it's not the opener type with the person coming in behind him, but you do have a guy that could come in there and throw 3-4 innings even if you wanted to, and Michael King that can clean up, one of the rotation's messy starts. Yeah, and that's huge. And he's a damn good option coming in there. So nobody wants to see that if the starter's struggling. You have, and in theory, you're not going to have multiple of those a week. You have a fresh King ready to go for when that happens.
See, I actually, because he's been so good and he's working himself into higher leverage spots now, you're not going to use him if a starter gets bounced in the third inning or something like that. You're going to use him like they used him on Wednesday night, where it's a close game in the 6th inning and you want to get 2, maybe 3 innings out of a guy.
That's more what I mean. So you can't not if the guy's getting blown up. No, that's not where he is. But if it's a tight game and and it's earlier, and Michael King's fresh, you can go to Michael King now. And that's the thing. It's kind of a get out of jail free card for a starter that doesn't have his best stuff.
Michael K called him a Swiss Army knife on the broadcast today. Now, I'm not saying that Michael K heard me say that or saw me tweet that, but I'm not saying that because.
You have been saying it about him for 3 years.
3 years.
Look, your prediction from 3 years ago is finally. It's just like again. Let's just again.
Run it back
again. Baby. I'm glad you're hitting on this on like the 4th opportunity.
Well, it's like if you're stupid enough to play roulette in a casino, just keep putting it on the same number, and eventually you're gonna get lucky. If you move your thing around the whole time, I know that's not how the odds work, but just stick it on the number and wait for it to hit.
I have a terrible story. I have a story about that with someone who was playing right behind me in Vegas, and I played 25. I played 25 a lot, and then I finally took it off, got off the table, and who came behind me, but someone who went 25, and they hit twice in a row right after I pulled it off. All of my stuff.
That's karma.
2 in a row.
That's karma. Yeah. Roulette's the worst game in the casino. Why are you playing roulette for?
It was just, I was following the crowd, to be honest. I was just hanging out.
That's when I just stand there, get a drink, and watch people lose money. I'll play some other games. I'm not playing roulette. So, again, obviously a lot of positive things. After Wednesday's game, and this kind of remains true because the Yankees won today and are winning by 7 runs as we're speaking, they lead the American League in run differential, and they have sole possession of first place since August 2020.
Whew.
Long
it's been a minute.
time. You might think, maybe they sniffed first place at some point in 2021. Not by themselves. It just goes to show you how this season has started off really well and how mediocre of a last 2 years that they've had. So
That's the other thing. It's not only the mediocre seasons, but how bad of a start they had too. I mean, last year's the offense was anemic, for the first half of the season. And that was part of the thing. You have too many of the same player, and you can't pick someone else up because you're all in a slump and nobody knows how to get out of it. Now they know how to get out of it.
Yeah. And to your point, the lineup just feels a lot more balanced, a lot more dynamic. They can score in different ways. Like even today, I know Baltimore booted the ball around the field. That's what led to the Yankees comeback, but they still got hits to score runs. They got some sac flies to get guys in. And that's just stuff we haven't seen before. And it sounds maybe too simplistic, but it's just so obvious, so glaringly obvious as you watch this lineup. You're not just sitting there crossing your fingers for a 2-run or a 3-run home run because other things can happen.
As Cameron Maben has drilled into our head, it's middle of the field approach. Middle of the field approach. He's not wrong. It is exactly that. Middle of the field approach. And if you're doing that, if you're just trying to hit the ball up the middle, who was it? I think Rucco was talking to DJ before the game yesterday. I was watching a little bit of the pregame, and he was talking about that exact thing. What is your approach? He's like, it was framed in the question of like, hey, tell the kids how to do this if they're watching. And DJ's just like, as DJ responds with a very dry answer, but at the same time, he's like, I just try to hit the ball up the middle. That's it. And it really, that is it. That is a simple way to do it, to hit the ball up the middle. And guess what? It's going to go out. And that's exactly what Gleyber needs to continue to do. Even yesterday, Gleyber's had better at-bats, but even yesterday,
he was trying to hit the ball out of the park every time.
Yeah, he struck out late in the game and hips wide open, trying to pull the ball rather than stay in the middle of the field, go with the ball and close it off a little bit, keep closed and drive the ball up the middle. If he can get back to that consistently, we will see good Gleyber again.
It's great that he had the walk-off hit over the weekend and he had the big moment on opening day, but the Yankees' best lineup is not with him in the starting lineup.
It's not dispute. It's not even a question. It's not even a question.
Yeah. And it sucks for Gleyber, and it's like it's one of those things. Okay, well, he needs regular playing time to start playing well again, but at the same time, the team is winning right now. Why are you going to mess with that?
Let me rephrase that. It is a question depending on where you're talking about, because as third base, if DJ is playing third base, you could argue, but that Gleyber being the second baseman, DJ being the third baseman, with the way that Josh Donaldson's hitting. Yes.
And DJ
so that would be the only
DJ
thing.
made actually a few nice plays at third base this week.
He did.
But here, let me ask you this. Who do you have more confidence is going to turn their season around, Gleyber or Donaldson?
Donaldson. Just because of the track record, really. Yeah. I mean, he's an older guy. He's, 36 years old. Gleyber should be able to do it with but we've seen this for a few years now with Gleyber. Donaldson had a good year last year. I mean, he's come back and still proved that he can hit. So as long as he's healthy, there's no reason that guy shouldn't be mashing. He's a professional hitter. But Gleyber should be a professional hitter. Still needs to show that he can be the guy that we thought he was.
So at this point, it seems like Gleyber's getting 3 starts a week, which is, I think, kind of the max for him, because DJ needs to be an everyday player, whether he's third base, second base, or the occasional day Rizzo sits. DJ is an everyday player, and then the off days is when Gleyber gets in there. And I think that's what you have to do, and just hope Gleyber can figure it out with 10 or 11 at-bats a week.
Yeah, I mean, I see it trending in a better direction only because of the DH spot and the fact that DJ is going to be going to third base, I think, relatively frequently. So it does depend on what Donaldson's doing, how how they're managing his workload, and also just how he's hitting. If he's not hitting and they're managing his workload, DJ is going to get a hell of a lot more time at third base, which puts Gleyber in the lineup more often. So all Gleyber has to do is show a little bit that he's, and I'd say over the last week he's been better than, than the previous 2, but he's still not being consistent, and that's the problem.
Got a couple of roster updates. I mentioned. What are you laughing at?
It's 10-5. It's another run.
Great.
3 runs in the
Okay,
ninth now.
so we could be watching a meltdown. That's okay though. This is the journey everyone is going.
Still a
on.
long way to go for it to be a complete meltdown.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm not re-recording all of that.
Is Chapman warming up
I'm
yet?
not re-recording all. Why does this always happen? Why when it's
making
I was
a
just trying to
pitching
set you
change.
off.
Licky's
Okay.
coming into the game, so we had to bring in Nelly Willie.
So I
Nice.
still think no problem. The Yankees are going to win this game. But why, with an 8-run lead, can't you just shut the door? Why? Why does it have to be difficult? Man.
It's Baltimore trying to be difficult. This is what they do. They don't win games. They're just like a pain in the ass.
Who's coming in? Licky? Yeah, Licky's coming in. Anyway, as I was saying, the rosters are decreasing to 26 over the weekend. Or actually, it's going to happen on Monday, May 2nd. But the 13-pitcher limit is going to be delayed until the end of May. So we could have a short bench for the month, or they'll do some rotation where guys will get called up. Hicks was on.
Are we proud of the guys for the agreement? Like, let's extend this the month. We're not going to do it. They
Just kick the can
there
down
was
the
no
road.
fuss.
Kick the can down. That's
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, no, they just made. They're like, you know what? Let's push it. They're like, you know what? That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
Yeah. That
The union and the owners, they're 2 peas in a pod grabbing beers these
it's
days.
like whenever you don't want to do something, it's like that's future me problem. I'll deal with that tomorrow. Like right now,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry about it. But it's like fine. And this is just like whatever. Freaking have 900 players on the roster for all I give a shit. Just play baseball and shut the hell up.
Just remember that I'm conceding to this point. You can have it.
Andujar was up for Hicks, who was on paternity leave. He didn't get in the game. To your point, it's like if you're not going to play him at least once, at least get him an at bat. Just leave him in AAA and call someone up who can play defense.
Yeah, I don't understand it. You know, it's Miguel Andujar. We know who he is or what he could be. Like maybe for a late game pinch hit opportunity, but I mean, really, there's a lot of bats on this lineup right now. You basically just iced him. The guy is on fire in AAA. Let's pull him up, put him on ice so that he goes back down and doesn't do much. Like he's not a guy that you're going to put in for defense, not a guy that you're going to put in to run anywhere. So he's a pinch hit guy, and that's it. If you're not going to play him, I don't quite understand that. Might as well bring someone up that's relatively more useful at the end of the bench. If you're not going to play the guy for a day, just play him for a day. Give him a day. Donaldson struggling.
Boone said
play
he considered
play him in left.
Boone said he considered starting Andujar today, but the reason he didn't is because Stanton needed to DH because he didn't want to play Stanton in the field again. And they obviously do not feel comfortable putting Andujar in the field, and I do not blame them.
Fine. Then bring up someone that's useful if he's not going to play.
Old friends Luke Voit, Gary Sanchez, and Clint Frazier are all on the IL currently. Listen, I do not wish injury upon anyone. We learned over the weekend you do not cheer for injuries. We'll talk about that in a second. However, this is another reason why the position players specifically needed to be shaken up on this team, because there was also, in addition to just being too much of the same player, too many extended slumps, also too many injuries.
Too many injuries. You can't. It's hard. I'm knocking on wood here because there are some guys on this team that are prone to that as well. So it's not like that's gone away. But there are a lot that were shipped out that have been dragged with injuries, unfortunately. So the fact that all of these guys are on the IL right now, not surprising. Hope they do well. But yeah, I'm glad it's not happening on the Yankees right now. Knock on wood.
And we're kind of going rapid fire here, but there was a TikTok video. Never sounded older in my life. There was one of them TikToks of Garrett Cole repeatedly rubbing his upper thigh, lower ass cheek on Sunday, and a brown glob. Was not shit. Could have been some sticky stuff. And people are theorizing that Garrett figured out another way to get some substances on the ball. Your thoughts?
No. My thoughts. Did you watch Jameson, Tyone, Jordan Montgomery I saw yesterday? Had the exact same brown patch right here on his jersey.
Yeah, but it was cold.
And you know why that happens?
It was cold.
Hold on. Let me tell you why that happens. Because when you grab a baseball that's been on the ground, it's dirty. When you grab your glove, it's dirty. There's dirt on these things when you're playing baseball. Baseball has dirt. There's dirt around here. Hands get dirty. When you lick your hands, said dirt is transferred to whatever the hell you wipe it. Pitchers go to the same place every time. They wipe the same thing. They do the same. Baseball players do the same thing every time. They are products of routine. They are products of every. Jordan Montgomery had the same like brown spot right here on his jersey. No, this is an audio podcast. You cannot see me.
Well, you can watch on YouTube now.
We are on YouTube, but right on his chest. So no, it was just dirt, and he's wiping his ass. There is a camera behind there in every stadium, in every broadcast. It's the primary shot.
Yes, that was going to be my point. If Garrett Cole's cheating again, I'm not ruling that out. I just don't think he's cheating with a glob of stuff on his ass cheek. Okay, like that is the last place you hide it. And yeah, it's like he did repeatedly go to it, but all pitchers repeatedly go to the same spot. Do you remember CeCe used to rub his leg, like down his leg? That was CeCe's thing. Like they have these little ticks, they have these little routines. I'm not ruling out that he has some other substance, but they are checking their hands now. Okay, so the umpires checked his hands, didn't find anything. Who knows what was on his ass cheek? Maybe he didn't wipe after he took a dump before the game. Who the hell knows?
They game over.
Good.
Game over?
The Yankees secured it. Chapman had to warm up.
Yankees sweep 6 in a row.
But there were first and second, 10-5 final. It was almost a nightmare. But glad that is.
It was not almost a nightmare. It was very far from a nightmare.
If Chapman had to come in, that would have been.
It was in the bag.
If you have to bring your closer, I mean, the fact that you even had to warm up your closer and it was 10-2 going into the inning is kind of bad. But if he had to come into the game, because he barely started to warm up, probably he like that. I don't even know if that's a full B whip. That's like maybe half a B whip. But if he's up there firing bullets out there, throws 15 B whips, and then has to come in the game, like that's a massive fail.
It's okay. They're good. Moving on to Kansas City.
I want to quickly touch on, so the video of the left field incident with Miles Straw surfaced the other day, and you could hear what the fans were yelling at Quan. Did you watch this video?
I did see it and I listened to it. I was somewhere where I couldn't hear all the details.
You could hear the fans saying, "Stay down, and
they were jawing at him.
Jawing
for sure.
at him
I
for
heard
sure.
the jawing. I didn't hear any specifics.
Like, listen, I still don't condone what the fans said. Absolutely not. However, I don't know that if you're Miles Straw, you can be climbing the fence, like for that.
No, you can't be climbing the fence. Like there may be things to get you to a point where, players don't deserve that. That's fine. You can get to that point. There's a lot of jawing that happens in that outfield in the Bronx.
Sure.
It's always has, always will be. Don't cheer for people's injuries. Don't throw shit on the field. Keep it as respectful as you can. But I love a good jawing myself. I don't mind shit talking, and they give it to them out there. But there's a line to not cross, and some people have different lines. Miles Straw clearly came up and did that. And when you do that, like you're just, it's poking on both sides. Both sides had some wrong there. The result of it with the fans in the outfield throwing shit on the field is took it way too far. That should never get to that point.
No one's denying that. Yeah.
So I'm not blaming Straw climbing up there for people throwing stuff on the field.
Shouldn't
that should never happen. But you also shouldn't climb up there and talk shit and tell someone to hit you 5,000 times. Because I did hear that.
Exactly. No, honestly, Straw, all players, it's easier said than done. I know I'm not out there. I'm just some idiot talking. They should try and make it, block it out and not give the fans anything.
It's exactly what they want.
Exactly.
It's exactly what they want.
But Straw climbing the fence is just it's just completely wrong in that situation. He's got to be a bigger man there and just in his mind be like.
Unfortunately, it goes to the players to be that bigger man because you have 50,000 people in the stands. You can't control who's coming in the stands, what they're drinking, what they're saying, who they are, any of that. The only thing you can control is the way that you handle said things and try to dismiss things that are coming. That are said at you, because I'm sure they hear all sorts of things, and it's that's not new.
Right. So the Athletic posted an interesting article about the baseballs. I mean, how many freaking years are we going to talk about the baseballs every year? Something
it's keeping the Athletic in business.
Seriously,
constantly coming out dissecting baseballs. Telling us that they're too hot, they're too soft,
moist.
They're
too moist now. Moist balls.
They're moist.
So baseball, as we know, all parks are using humidors now. It used to be only 10 parks, but now 20 new parks around the league, so all 30, have humidors. And it's actually had potentially a reverse effect as to what they intended. And what the article laid out is that it's because it's early in the season and it's cold and they've had an unseasoned, especially in Oakland. They use Oakland as one of the prime examples, but a lot of places have had dry Aprils. So the humidors, which are supposed to take moisture out of the ball in the summer, currently are putting moisture back into the ball because they're already in dry environments. So a moisture ball, a heavier ball, is not going to travel as far. And that's what's happening in a lot of places. And home run rates right now are in line with what they were in the mid-2010s, which is 4.3%. And if you compare that to 2019 to 2021, it was over 5%. It spiked in 2019 to like 5.5%. So it's more than a percentage point fewer home runs. And the interesting thing is that exit velocities and barrel percentages are actually up in a lot of cases, and the balls are still traveling less distance. So it's not like guys are hitting the ball, less hard. They're hitting the ball harder than ever. It's just not going as far.
Fine. This is a correction. This is again, they got to find, if they're tinkering with this ball and they're obviously trying to find a play. I don't know what their intentions or motivations are, but at the end of the day, if the ball's not flying out of the ballpark,
they said what their intentions are. Their intentions are to take some home runs out of the game and keep the ball in play in the ballpark more. I'm glad they're doing that, because to me, if you're doing that, and then just like, with the launch angle wave of players and how that has become a thing, and how the balls are traveling more, like, of course you're going to try to hit more home runs because you can. It's just going to start going out now. So now we're going to start seeing a different up the middle approach. Use the middle of the field and give me more base hits. It's more exciting. It's more fun. It's maybe the next wave to come is next year if they limit or ban the shift. We don't know yet. But I think that what the intention was to remove like a few feet of flight. I think that it was like 2 or 3 feet.
It's also been a month. So sample size.
And also the weather, like I said. The one thing that the article did criticize for is that they should have controlled for the weather, and they didn't. And to me, that's like a big miss.
What about the wind resistance due to the lack of players or due to the lack of fans in Oakland?
That's true. Yeah, wasn't the announced crowd in Oakland like 3,000 people?
4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very low.
But
apparently they're boycotting.
But it's gonna. What I think, taking a few feet of distance away, it's like Joey Gallo, when he connects, is still gonna hit a home run. Aaron Judge, same thing. It's the home run hitters. It's the people that shouldn't be home run hitters that were suddenly turned into home run hitters that are no longer going to be home run hitters that I think maybe got,
like DJ LeMahieu.
No, not even DJ LeMahieu, but like you talked about, like with Gleyber Torres, right? Like hits 38 home runs, he's thinking I'm a 40 home run guy now. It's like, yeah, maybe you're not. Maybe you just need to pull a Cameron Maybin and stay in the middle of the field a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I don't know if that's the best example, because his approach is also different, and whatever was going on there, like those balls are not traveling out. They're not going to the warning track. It's not like he's being affected necessarily by the ball, more so his own mechanics. He's his own worst enemy because he saw the ball fly out. So maybe that's a byproduct of that. But I would actually say DJ LeMahieu is probably one of these guys who, on a normal day, he's hitting a line drive, when he hit, what was it? How many did he hit in that? I know he hit 25.
I think it was actually like
on the nose, at least 25. But some of those balls that were line drives that went out are doubles in the gap. Like, that's to me the guy that's being more affected by this, that type of player.
Yeah, like Gardner hit 20.
Gardner's another
Gardner hit 28 home runs, I think, that year, and we had seen enough of Brett Gardner's career to know he's not a 28 home run hitter. He's probably like a 9 or a 10 home run hitter, which is where,
especially late in his career,
which is where he should be. And I think what it started to do is it was kind of just like tricking. I know it was messing with my perception of the game. Like, I've watched so much baseball in my lifetime that I've gotten to a point where I see a ball hit on TV and I have a pretty good idea if it's going to be a home run or not. And then 2019 rolls around and I'm like, that ball went out? Like, that should have been a kind of deep fly ball, probably caught 3 steps in front of the warning track, and it went to the 6th row. And my brain was just like, cannot compute what's going on here. And like everything was thrown out of whack.
It was thrown out of whack. So they're again, correction. They're just bringing it back. It's a market correction here with the baseballs. And since the baseball company is owned by Major League Baseball, they can do whatever the hell they want.
And supposedly they're using one baseball this year, one design baseball, not two, which is what they used last year. So yeah, this is not going to be the last time we hear about
which
the
makes just all the sense in the world.
Does.
Let's use one baseball instead of two models.
Oh man,
Let's have a consistent product out there for everybody to use. That's what you'd think would be the correct solution, the apparent solution, the one that's very. You don't need nerds to tell you that you just should have one baseball out there.
Yeah, and you've got pitchers blaming the baseball for maybe some wildness early in the season, although maybe I think identified just
nobody likes the
hate
Mets.
the Mets, and they're just drilling the Mets. Hey, the Mets. You know what? I'm not one of these people that wants to see the Mets bad. I want to see the Mets have a good season. Like this, I think it's just more fun in New York City. Like two good baseball teams throughout the summer. Like that's fun.
I got no problem with the Mets having success as long as it doesn't end up being total success over my team.
No, they'll have epic failure in the playoffs. Like that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Like, regular season success, crash and burn at the end.
No, I you know what? I hope that Mets fans find happiness because they
find peace.
You know,
they find peace.
They find some peace in their hearts, and you know, I'm sure that they saw the stuff flying out on the field last weekend, and they're sitting there like, yes. Like some of them were in their basements going, yes. The Yankee fans look like assholes again. You know, a few bad apples that make the fan base look a certain way that it's really not.
I mean, Buck Showalter's a good manager. Steve Cohen seems like he's going to be a good owner. Like they do have some things in place to have success now.
Buck gets his little angry trot when he comes out, you know, his head down, hands in the pocket with the jacket, and he just like musters over there. It's so funny because it's been the same for a long time, and he does this like speed walk thing where he goes back and forth, and he's just like a little bobblehead going out, and then he just, you know, head down talking to the umpire. It's the same way. It's been like this for a very long time with him, and I'd say it's like if you were to draw a standard template for a manager to come out and like over the years, Buck Showalter is really hitting that template.
You mean like
he's been very consistent.
Their mannerisms with like coming out of the dugout, like agitated, like angry. I want to run, but I'm too old to run, and I've been sitting down for like 4 hours.
And you're not gonna make me goddamn run. You're not gonna goddamn make me run.
Like I've been sitting down so long,
but
maybe
I am
my
mad
leg
as
is
hell.
asleep, my back hurts. Like I'm gonna trot over here, shake it out a little bit. We're gonna have a serious discussion.
I will pull my hamstring kicking dirt on the plate, but not coming out to you with urgency.
Have we ever seen a manager injure himself, like in running out to argue with? Like that has to have happened, and I just can't think of it. But
we probably just don't hear about it. But yeah.
Well, speaking of umpires, actually, this doesn't really relate to. It kind of does relate to umpires. Pitchcom, I guess, has been improving the pace of play. The Yankees have played a number of games at 3 hours or just under 3 hours. I mean, shit, they played a game last week, 2 hours and 34 minutes. A 2.5 hour baseball game. I did not think that was possible anymore in today's day and age. But a lot of people are crediting Pitchcom for improving pace of play. And Boone even said maybe we won't even need a pitch clock if we've got Pitchcom, because you don't have to go through 4 different signs. There's no worry about a runner on second base stealing it. It's just they can just get the signal and be good.
Are they using Pitchcom at all in the minor leagues? Is it being tested down there as well, or are they, or was it in the past?
I believe it was in the past. I mean, I don't think they ever.
Yeah. Usually, it's tested down there.
They don't roll things out at the majors unless it's been tested at the lower levels.
Well, unless you're talking about the
baseballs.
Yeah. You know, the thing that they use to play the game. Sure. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the case. It's so funny because it does seem to me like on the surface when you think about Pitchcom and what it is that it would be easier or like more prone to be stolen because of it's like, you know, it's an electronic frequency. You telling me someone can't tap into that?
Oh, definitely. Every team probably has a nerd trying to tap into the frequencies.
Yeah.
Well, I talked about this.
Someone's got like the big ass antenna coming out, like trying to tap in.
There's a Steve Bartman out in left field with like the big radio and the big earmuffs, like trying to tap in. I talked about again with this with Christy Ackert. you're gonna enjoy this.
Or one of those like side the thing they use on the side, the big ass shields that they
Yeah.
use at football games to like hear the voice that's coming out of one of the.
So there's a
The guy in center field's also wearing it. So in theory, you could point it at the center fielder. You get a little closer from the stands.
I'm surprised that it actually says the name of the pitch. Like it'll say slider, it'll say curveball. I thought it was just like a beep, and one beep is fastball, two beeps is slider or something like that. But there's an infamous story with the Patriots, and they were playing the Steelers like maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And after the game, Mike Tomlin complained that his headset wasn't working, and all he could hear was the Patriots radio broadcast. And it's like, you just know Bill Belichick was behind that. Like he tapped in and just like fed the broadcast.
Oh, damn right.
So it's like, who is going to just pipe in John and Susan to the opposing pitcher?
Yeah, I'm just expecting it to be messed with. It just feels like in today's age that's low hanging fruit for someone to cheat with. And I feel like you could do it from a distance too.
And you can be very.
This is like Ty Cobb. This is like Ty Cobb with having someone with a telescope, outside of a field right. in a high.
You might not even need to be in the stadium to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Like you could be very sleuth about this. You could have like multiple people hacking in. So
Satellites.
It's like plausible deniability. We don't know if it was this guy. Was it this guy? You got guys all around the park.
Yeah, and now you're just like introducing electronics in people's ears and their hats. What else are they saying? Do the batters also have it? Are they stealing it? Is the batter stealing it directly, and now it's going into his ear?
You know what?
There's a million ways to cheat with that
the
one.
The pace of play does feel a little bit better to me, and maybe it's because the Yankees are just doing more things on the baseball field, so it's not just watching strikeouts and home runs and walks. But like the proof is there. Like today was a long game, but otherwise they have played a lot of efficient, quick games, which I think is a positive thing for the sport. Like ultimately, I'm someone. My stance on this is, if you've got a bunch of 3-hour and 40-minute baseball games, like that's not tenable to the general public, especially when there's 162 of them. Like, get more action, get it to be a little bit closer to 3 hours, and I think overall that's a positive thing for the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, with a casual fan, think about NFL games. NFL games are 3 hours long. When you have action, it's fine. If it was on every day, trust me, everybody would watch it. But yeah, but the point is that there's action. There's action. If you have more action within the game as well, more activity happening, that 3 hours doesn't feel like 3 hours. It feels like a different thing because the product, in the moment is a lot more active, and you have things happening and there's different plays. So when you have that, even if it's 3 hours, if it's a little over 3 hours, you're not talking about it as a complaint because there's fun activity happening in front of you.
Yeah, we've said that all along. And while we're on the theme of cheating, let's wrap this episode up talking about the infamous Yankees letter that was revealed. At least the contents of the letter were revealed this week. Andy Martino was on this SNY, and he actually wrote about a lot of this stuff in his book when I talked to him about his book like over a year ago. The letter did not shed any new light on what the Yankees were doing. They were using Video Replay Room in 2015 and 2016 to decode sign sequences and pass them to a runner on second base who would then relay it to the batter. That was already known. People were freaking out about that. That was known. Freaking Joe Girardi talked about it on TV. Okay? This is not new information. People thought this was going to be a smoking gun, like the letter was going to say, from the commissioner's office, the Yankees are as bad as the Houston Astros, period, end of story. It's like, no, what did we think? Which kind of brings me to why the Yankees fight so hard to keep this thing private. But
precedent.
But I did not think it was going to have any information in it because the Yankees have been on the offensive of accusing and saying the Astros, what they did are wrong. They're the reason for our World Series drought. So it would have been super hypocritical for a month later for this letter to come out and implicate the Yankees in some serious sign stealing.
The only reason I wasn't overly concerned about it, I didn't know what the hell was in this letter. It could have been something. I didn't have a good pulse, except for the fact that if there was something in that letter, we would have already known about it. And because that's what happens in today's world. Ain't nothing a secret. Nothing's a secret. People will find out. If it's in a letter like that, it will be found out and will be talked about and be reported on. There's way too many way too many people and way too many things, ability to leak. And there's just too many of these things to keep a secret if it was something substantial. So that was the big reason why I didn't think it was going to be something jarring, because if it were, I think we would have already known about it.
Your point on Preston, I understand. Like, it was supposed to be private, so that's the precedent they're trying to set. And Randy Levine, he's a lawyer at heart, so like, yeah, he's gonna fight tooth and nail to do that. However, the Yankees did say, we fear that this letter being public could cause reputational harm, and that's why they wanted to keep it private. And I think that
for the judge that didn't keep it private, reputational
but I
harm,
think when people
didn't
saw
follow
that,
the precedent.
when people saw that, they assumed there was something bad in there, and I think that caused a stir. When in reality, the Yankees could have just been like freaking. I joked Brian Cashman could have done a dramatic reading of this thing and just mocked the whole thing because there was no new information in here. Like I said, we knew.
Well, you don't want to mock the thing because well, I don't know if the casual baseball fan knew this. It's going to be picked up again. It's kind of regurgitating
I have not
things
seen this anywhere outside of baseball social media.
It didn't do that. That did not happen really, but it could have. It could have brought something back up if it were to be reported more. The casual fan who has no idea about this is hearing it for the first time, saying, "Oh, they decoded something." So yeah, it could. It still probably did that to people who hadn't heard that before, because there's, I'm sure, a number of people that didn't know about this before. So I understand what he's saying with that. It's just, for people that are following the team and baseball closely, like, this is information that was out. Like you said, Girardi was talking about this on television. It's been discussed multiple times. So nothing new.
Nothing new.
Not to say that it was right, but nothing new. And not to the extent at all. Don't even try to compare it to what the jackasses in Houston were doing.
Well, if you are trying to find something that's bad for the game, is that baseball seems okay with what the Yankees and presumably a lot of other teams were doing in that era. At least okay in the sense that they're not going to really punish it. It's like, yeah, you were using the video replay room illegally to steal signs. Like, what the Yankees did was wrong. Like, that's not what the intent of the video replay room was for. But they're obviously just, they tried to sweep it on.
They tried to decode the sign and get it to someone. Yeah.
No, but
it's a digital version of what has been happening in baseball.
It's someone
for a long
gives
time.
you
try to steal signs and decode them.
But it's someone gives you answers to the test and then you just have to get them to your buddy, versus you actually figure out the answer to the test and then give it to your buddy.
I didn't follow your analogy, but fine.
You're saying, oh, the Yankees still have to get the thing to the batter.
I'm not
Okay.
I'm not defending it. I'm being a smartass. But at the same time, yeah, like, people in baseball, players in baseball, teams in baseball have been trying to steal signs from the dawn of time on the field. That's where it's always been. And the game always policed itself within there, because if it was seen, then, that it was dealt with between the lines. The players would police it in that way. When you're doing it behind closed doors, when you're looking, with technology and third-party devices and all of that shit, like, yeah, it's next level. It's different. It makes it feel a hell of a lot different than someone just figuring something out, standing on second base and giving a sign to the guy at the plate.
And in classic baseball fashion, when they created these video replay rooms, I believe it was in 2013, they didn't have clear guidelines in place on what was and was not within the rules, what was and wasn't illegal, which is just like, oh, you didn't foresee this was going to happen? Really, guys? Like, this is a sport that was like, the foundation of baseball is built on like kind of cheating. So like, how about you anticipate some cheating?
This is where baseball needs to hire someone like Catch Me If You Can type stuff. Like, you hire the criminal to catch the criminal. Hire the Houston Astros are going to have the 2017 Astros have a consulting career ahead of them, so they can consult with whomever the commissioner of baseball is at that point. This is how you cheat. This is what I would be looking for. This is the angle that I would see, and therefore they can put some safeguards in place because of that. So yeah, congratulations, you got some after career job for you.
Someone from the Astros, like that intern that created the Excel sheet that they use can be that person, and like maybe you and I can lead up the common sense department that we've been talking about.
Common sense department, yeah, we got that one covered.
All right, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Next episode, we're going to be doing mailbags and voicemail, so make sure to call up the voicemail line, 646-480-0342. Maybe tell us about why you like this team so much better than last year. I can't imagine there's anyone out there that likes the last two versions of the Yankees better than what we've seen so far this year. And check us out on YouTube if you want to see what we look like as we talk, and maybe you still can't figure out who's who after 700 episodes almost.